for hate in America, period. None. It will not be tolerated. But President Trump revels in division and chaos. He'll do anything to distract us from focusing on his failures to deal with this virus and to protect the nation. He's still living in a dream world. He keeps telling us that this virus is going to disappear like America. He said, I think last night in his town hall, I didn't have the pleasure of hearing it. I was doing one myself. He said, we have turned the corner. As my grandfather Finnegan might say, we were here, he said, he's gone around the bend. Turn the corner. My Lord. It's not disappearing. In fact, it's on the rise again. It's getting worse, as predicted. We all know the terrible price this nation has paid. Lives lost, unemployment way up. Across Michigan and the country, folks are worried about making their next rent payment or mortgage payment. Whether their health care will be ripped away in the middle of a pandemic that you work so damn hard, Gary, to keep. Worried about, and we talked about this, Lexi, kids in school, are they able to get back to school? More than 215,000 Americans, I think it's 217 as of this morning, Americans have died from COVID-19. And experts have said, and have been saying for the last month and a half, that nearly another 200,000 lives are likely to be lost in the coming months between now and the first of the year. If we continue to refuse to follow science, because he refused to embrace it, wearing a mask. How many times on television see him make fun of Biden wearing a mask? Because he refuses to practice social distancing. He puts his supporters in such jeopardy. It's estimated by his own folks, if we just wore masks nationally, almost 100,000 lives would be saved in the next few months. His own director of CDC said, we're waiting for a vaccine, even if we had a vaccine. This will prevent more deaths between now and the end of January than a vaccine would. You know what's really sad about all this? And I've been talking about this, but every time I repeat it, I get more, well, I'm not very happy. The president knew and lied about knowing. He knew in January. The intelligence community and their, what they call the PDB, the Presidential Daily Briefings, which I've sat in on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them as vice president. It got out that they laid out in detail to him how devastating this could be, how much life could be lost, and so on. He said he was unaware of it. Didn't read those reports. Well, that surprised no one that doesn't read the reports. But he didn't read the reports. Everybody said, well, maybe he didn't. But then...
Yeah, keep touching your face, you liar.
As was acknowledged, because of his ego, he wanted to impress.
You are such a liar.
He thought he could change his mind about his view of him. He did a long interview with Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward, a renowned journalist, taped the interview with him. Extensive interviews, hours. And he taped an interview where Trump said he knew this disease was deadly, significantly worse than the flu. But that's not what he told you. That's not what he told the public. And the reason he lied again to the American people? Well, Well, he said he didn't want to panic the American people. Americans don't panic. Donald Trump panicked. That's who panicked. As a consequence,
Yeah,
was
there is.
overwhelming lying, negligence, irresponsible action. How many empty chairs were around the kitchen table this morning, or the dining room table last night? How many?
Benghazi. How many?
How many women or men
How many?
leaned over, they got in bed last night and reached over to touch their husband and wife?
Police officers fallen.
They
How
weren't
many?
there.
Poor innocent people around this country. How many, Joe? H1N1. How many?
It's profound,
You're a liar.
especially
God
what was
knows.
avoidable, much of it. But mishandling the pandemic isn't enough for Trump. On top of that, he's still trying to take away your health care.
Needs to be taken
Trump's
out.
still determined in the midst of this pandemic. And by the way, if projections, pray God they're not right, Father. If they're right, though, in the next several months, there'll be over 200,000 additional deaths. That'll be in 1 year, 400,000 people would have.
You can thank your buddy
died.
China for that.
That's more than lost in all of World War II. Hear me? World War II was 4 years. More American souls have been lost in World War II.
Fact check, people.
What's he doing? He's still determined to destroy the Affordable Care Act. This isn't hyperbole. Just like your opponent calls it a disaster. Talk about a disaster. There's a disaster. The guy is 2,000% or 200%, whatever it is with Trump. Hope everybody remembers. Look, as I said, this isn't hyperbole. It's real as it gets. On November 10th, the United States Supreme Court will hear the Trump administration make the case that the Affordable Care Act should be struck down in its entirety. Now, I know everybody thinks they know, but I just want to remind you, 10 million of you have already lost your health insurance because your employer's health insurance, they've gone out of business. 10 million Americans already without health insurance. If Trump gets his way, 20 million more Americans will lose their health care. It's a god-awful, in the midst of this god-awful economic crisis, 100 million Americans will lose their protections for pre-existing conditions, including more than 4 million people right here in Michigan. Lifetime limits and benefits, non-benefits, will be back. Insurance, and by the way, you know, a lot of you have been through what I've been through and worse. But I can distinctly remember sitting on the bed with my beau, my son. We came back from, the Attorney General came back from a year serving in Iraq, which this president talks about losers who serve. Losers.
Well, he's
With
even going to cry for him, maybe.
the same significant disease that your mom had. Stage 4 glioblastoma. When it was diagnosed, when he got home, we asked the docs. It was only a matter of months, not if. Just months. We never gave up hope. But I remember watching him on that bed. He made it almost 16 months. Toward the end, and this is not about me, it's about all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I consciously thought to myself, what would it feel like if they were able to walk in and say, Mr. Biden, You've outrun your insurance coverage. Suffer the last 2 or 3 months in pain on your own. Lots of luck. Because that's what was happening before. Insurers, if they win, and that's what this court packing going on now is about, insurers will no longer allow you to keep your kids on your policy till age 26 in the middle of this economic crisis. Women, once again, will be charged more for their health care just because they're a woman. Older folks will be able to be charged more. And as the governor said, long-term complications from COVID will become pre-existing conditions, joining asthma, diabetes, even pregnancy as a pre-existing condition before. It could allow insurers to jack up your premiums or deny coverage altogether. Getting rid of Obamacare is why they're racing to get this nominee through the Supreme Court.
What's not true?
Make no mistake about it. Trump's made it clear from the beginning, as your opponent has. He wants to get rid of Obamacare in its entirety. And with this nominee, he's made that incredibly clear as well. Michigan deserves so much better.
They deserve Trump.
Deserves leaders like Gary and Debbie stepping up. Public servants who lead with decency and honor. Always look out for your needs. We think about how to ease the burden on your family.
Yeah, you do that.
That's the sort of leader you got in Gretchen and Governor Whitmer as well.
Oh, yeah.
When she was in the state senate, she led the charge to secure Obamacare and Medicaid expansion for more than 800,000 Michiganders. Think about this now. Some of those states, Republican governors, did not expand, even though the federal government paid for the front end. There's millions of people who have no coverage. After we passed Obamacare, with the help of Debbie and Gary, with Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters, we were able to reduce the uninsured rate by 55% here in Michigan. And if I have the honor of becoming your president, we'll build on the Affordable Care Act, no matter what they do. You can choose to keep a private plan if you still have one, because some of the private plans negotiated with the UFW and others are good plans.
Keep your doctor, keep your plan.
But we'll also offer you a Medicare-like public health insurance option. It will force private insurers to keep premiums low and all